don't remember a time when my parents saw me first. In the Miller household, my place was somewhere between an afterthought and an obligation. Never the star, never the priority. That title belonged to my younger sister, Olivia, the miracle child who defied all odds by surviving her premature birth. And because of that, my parents never let the world forget how special she was. We lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Austin, Texas, in a house that felt more like a shrine dedicated to Olivia than a home for a family of 5. My parents, Barbara and Richard Miller, weren't bad people, not in the obvious ways. They didn't scream or hit. They just chose who mattered. And from the moment Olivia took her first breath, that was never me. Ethan, my younger brother by a year, figured it out early. Unlike me, he didn't fight for our parents' attention. He just accepted being overlooked and stayed out of the blast zone. I envied him for that. But I wasn't like Ethan. I wanted them to see me. And I learned painfully that no matter what I did, I never could. My childhood was a constant, exhausting comparison. If I won a spelling bee, it was, "That's nice, sweetheart." If Olivia remembered to tie her shoes, my parents threw a celebration. If I came home with straight A's, they barely blinked. But if Olivia scraped together a C, we all had to sit down and praise her for trying her best. It wasn't just academic. It was everything. If I got a book, Olivia got an entire bookshelf. If I got a bike, Olivia got the best one on the market, complete with training wheels and streamers. If I won first place in a science competition, Olivia's most improved ribbon was framed on the wall, front and center. But the worst part wasn't that Olivia got more. It was that she knew it, and she loved it. Olivia wasn't just a spoiled favorite. She was a competitor. And the only person she was competing against was me. It started small. She would steal my toys just because she could. If I had a dollhouse, she had to have a bigger one. If I played with a certain toy, she suddenly loved that toy too. Except hers had to be better. Then, she started taking my friends. If I made a friend at school, she'd charm her way into their circle, and suddenly, I wasn't invited anymore. It was like she couldn't stand the idea of me having something that wasn't hers. By the time we were in high school, she had perfected her technique. She didn't just copy me, she stole from me. Not just my possessions, but my moments, my recognition, my happiness. And later, she would steal something I could never get back. Something I never saw coming, but I should have. If childhood was a battle I never agreed to fight, high school was outright war. By then, I had stopped expecting fairness. I knew the rules of the game. If Olivia wanted something I had, she would take it. If I worked hard for something, she would find a way to diminish it. And if my parents had to choose sides, they wouldn't even pretend to hesitate. But I still wasn't prepared for what she did to me my senior year. I was 17, just months away from graduation. And for once, I had something that wasn't within Olivia's reach. His name was Jake Reynolds. Jake was a senior like me, smart, funny, the kind of guy who actually listened when you spoke. We had been friends for a while, and I had the biggest, most ridiculous crush on him. The kind that made you nervous every time he looked your way. He liked me. I knew he did. He had started lingering by my locker between classes, walking me to my car, dropping hints that he wanted to take things further. It was the first time I felt seen, like I was more than just Olivia's sister. And that was precisely why she took him from me. It happened at a party, one of the last big blowouts, before graduation. I wasn't a big party person, but Jake had convinced me to go. I should have known Olivia would be there. She didn't even like parties. She wasn't part of my friend group. But when she saw me getting ready that night, something in her eyes changed. That sharp, predatory glint I had learned to fear. I don't know what she said to Jake, or how she manipulated the situation so fast. But I do know that one minute I was looking for him, and the next, I found him, with Olivia, making out with her against the wall, her hands in his hair, his arms around her waist. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Jake noticed. Me first. He pulled away, guilt flashing across his face. Olivia? She turned her head just enough to smirk at me, like she had won. I don't remember how I got home that night. I remember crying in my car. I remember Ethan texting me, asking where I was. I remember feeling stupid. The next morning, Olivia acted like nothing had happened. "You're being dramatic, Charlie," she said when I confronted her. "It's not like you guys were dating." I wanted to scream. I went to my parents, thinking, naively, that maybe this would finally be too far. But my mom just sighed, exasperated. "Charlie, sweetheart, you're overreacting." "He's just a boy," my dad added, not even looking up from his newspaper. I stood there, shaking. "She did it on purpose. She's young. You're both young. She does this all the time. Boys will be boys," my mom said dismissively, as if I had accused him of stealing a pencil, not humiliating me in front of my entire school. I walked away without another word. I don't think they even noticed. That was the moment I knew I would never win. If I had stayed, Olivia would have kept taking from me. But I had something she couldn't steal. My intelligence, my ability to escape. I threw myself into school, studied harder than ever, pushed past the exhaustion. And when I got a full-ride scholarship to Stanford University, I knew I had my way out. I had been accepted to the best architecture program in the country. It was my chance to start over, to leave Austin, Texas, and all its suffocating memories behind. Olivia? She didn't even try. She had spent her high school years coasting, assuming our parents would pay her way through college. But when the time came, they hadn't saved a dime. They had spent everything on Olivia's childhood medical care, assuming she wouldn't make it this far. And now they had nothing left for either of us. I remember the shock on her face when they told her. The way she started crying, demanding they fix it. For the first time in our lives, I saw it. The moment Olivia realized she wasn't invincible. But me? I didn't care. I packed my bags, hugged Ethan goodbye, and drove myself to the airport. I never looked back. Stanford felt like a different world. For the first time in my life, I was just Charlie, not Olivia's sister, not my parents' overlooked daughter. Just me. And then, I met Lucas Carter. Lucas was everything I had never had before. Kind, patient, genuinely interested in me. A law student with a quick wit and a sharp mind, he challenged me, made me laugh, made me feel like I was worth something. With him, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't the runner-up. For the first time, I felt like I was winning. So when winter break came, I did something I had never done before. I brought him home. I was nervous about bringing Lucas to Austin, but he insisted. "I want to meet your family," he had said, holding my hand. "Besides, it's just a few weeks. How bad can it be?" I wanted to believe him. I should have known better. The first few days were tolerable. Lucas was polite, charming, and somehow managed to dodge Olivia's flirtations, at least at first. I could see her circling, watching him the way a predator sizes up prey. Still, I told myself it would be fine. I was wrong. The morning everything fell apart, I woke up early. I planned to make coffee, maybe steal a quiet moment with Lucas before the chaos of my family set in. But he wasn't in the guest room. The door was wide open. A sick feeling settled in my stomach as I made my way downstairs, feet moving before my mind could catch up. Then I heard them, whispers, low voices, the sound of movement. I stopped at the basement door. And then, laughter. Hers. I already knew. Before I even opened the door, I knew. But I did it anyway. And there they were. Lucas and Olivia. My boyfriend. My sister. Together. She saw me first. And instead of guilt, instead of regret, I saw something else in her face. Satisfaction. Like she had won again. I don't know how I got upstairs. How I managed to even breathe through the storm in my chest. But I remember sitting on the couch, fists clenched, heart pounding as my parents came into the room. And when I told them what happened, They didn't even look surprised. "Oh, honey," my mom sighed, like I had just told her the weather was bad. "You can't control love," my dad added, like this was some poetic tragedy instead of a betrayal. "Maybe Lucas wasn't meant for you." The words landed like knives. Maybe Lucas wasn't meant for me. Not, "How could Olivia do this?" Not, "We'll talk to her." Just acceptance. Because in their eyes, this was fine. Olivia had won. Again. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember the first thing I said. But I remember yelling. I remember screaming. Every moment of neglect, every instance of cruelty, every time I had been pushed aside, dismissed, ignored. I laid it all bare. And they sat there. Unmoved. Like I was the one being dramatic. Like I was the problem. So I stopped. I stopped yelling. I stopped begging. I just walked away. And this time, I didn't look back. Years had passed since I had walked away from my family. And in that time, I had built everything Olivia could never take from me. A new life. A real life. I had made my home in San Francisco, working my way up to becoming a lead architect at one of the most prestigious firms in the city. I married Noah Williams, a man who was nothing like Lucas, loyal, steady, my greatest supporter. And now, I was pregnant with our first child. For the first time, I had peace. And then, my parents called. I stared at my phone, reading the message over and over again. "We miss you, sweetheart. Let's put the past behind us. Come home." They were hosting the annual Miller family dinner, the one I had skipped for years. Everyone would be there, including Olivia, including Lucas. Every part of me wanted to delete the message and forget they ever reached out. But Noah? He thought differently. "Maybe they've changed," he said, resting a hand on my stomach. "Maybe they finally realize what they lost." I doubted it, but a part of me wanted to see, wanted to know if, after all these years, they had finally felt my absence. So against my better judgment, I went. Walking into my parents' house felt like stepping into the past. Nothing had changed. The furniture, the decor, the way my mother lit up when she saw Olivia, but barely acknowledged me. And there she was, Olivia. She sat smugly beside Lucas, who looked as empty and lifeless as I remembered. I told myself I wouldn't let it get to me, that they were just people I used to know. But Olivia? She wasn't going to let me forget. She spent the entire night hovering near Noah, touching his arm, laughing a little too loudly at his jokes. Noah ignored her, and that must have driven her crazy. Because when it was time for the toast, Olivia stood, glass raised, a smirk on her lips. "Charlie," she said, voice dripping with mock sweetness. "I know it must be hard seeing me with Lucas, but thank you for being the bigger person and giving us your blessing." The room fell deathly silent. I felt my blood boil. But before I could even open my mouth, Noah stood up. And when he spoke, the entire night changed. "You know what, Olivia?" Noah's voice was calm, but lethal. "You really are pathetic." Olivia blinked. "Excuse me?" "No. You're going to listen." He turned to the room, addressing everyone. "All your life, you've stolen from Charlie. Her childhood, her friends, her accomplishments, even her first love. And you still can't stand that no matter what you take, you will never be her." People started murmuring. Olivia paled. Noah wasn't done. "You think Lucas is some grand prize? He's been flirting with every single woman in this room." He gestured toward the cousins and aunts. "Hell, he hit on Charlie 2 minutes after she walked in." Gasps filled the air. Lucas shifted uncomfortably. Olivia turned on him, eyes wild. Noah's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "You spent your entire life obsessed with Charlie, but guess what? You'll never be her. You can try to take everything she has, but you will never have her talent, never have her success, never have the love and respect she's built for herself. And then, the final blow. You're just a sad, desperate shadow trying to live a life that was never meant for you. The room was silent. Olivia's face crumpled. My mother opened her mouth to defend her, but Noah just shook his head. "Charlie," he said, turning to me. "We're done here." And, just like that, we left. I didn't need to say a single word. I had already won. I thought the family reunion from hell would be the last time I ever had to deal with Olivia. I was wrong. A few days later, Noah got a message. Then another. Then dozens. At first, he ignored them. But when he finally opened one, his face darkened. "Charlie," he said, his voice tight with anger. "You need to see this." And when I looked, it was Olivia, sending Noah texts, photos, disgusting, pathetic attempts to seduce him. One message read, "I can give you more than Charlie ever could." That was it. I had tolerated a lifetime of Olivia's jealousy, her competition, her attempts to tear me down. But this was her lowest point. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. We didn't tell my parents why we were coming. If we had, they would have made excuses, defended Olivia before we even got through the door. Instead, we showed up unannounced, Noah and I, along with Ethan, who had seen the messages and was just as disgusted. My parents were surprised to see us. "What's going on?" my mom asked, eyeing me warily. I held up my phone. "You should see what Olivia's been up to," she scoffed. "What now? You're still holding a grudge over the past?" Noah didn't even look at her. He handed my dad the phone. My father's face went pale. My mother glanced over his shoulder, gasped, and covered her mouth. "Olivia," my dad called, voice cold. "Get down here, now." Footsteps thundered down the stairs. Olivia walked into the room like she owned it, until she saw our faces. Then she saw Noah, and she knew. Her fake confidence cracked. "What's this about?" "Let me help you out," Noah said, his voice like steel. He pulled out his phone, reading aloud the filth she had sent him. Her husband, Lucas, sat frozen beside her. Until he wasn't. He grabbed her phone, unlocked it, and scrolled. His entire body went rigid. Then, "You sick, pathetic bitch," Lucas spat, shoving the phone in her face. "What the hell is this?" Olivia turned red, scrambling for words. "Someone must have hacked me," she stammered. "It's fake. Charlie set me up. You think I'm stupid?" Lucas barked. "This is your number. This is your phone. You're trying to sleep with your sister's husband and you think I'm going to believe you?" Her entire world crumbled. I just stood there watching her fall apart. "Is this the daughter you spent your whole life defending?" Noah asked, his voice dangerously calm. "This is your golden child?" My parents said nothing. So Ethan stepped forward. "You failed us," he said, staring at them like they were strangers. "You spent our whole lives making excuses for her, protecting her, turning a blind eye to her bullshit." My mother's eyes filled with tears. We were just trying to do what was best." "No," Noah cut in. "You did what was best for Olivia. Never for us." My father shifted uncomfortably. "We didn't mean to." "You meant to," I said. "Every time you ignored me, every time you made excuses for Olivia, every time you looked the other way. This is what you created." They had nothing left to say, because for once, they had to face the truth. I took a deep breath and said what I had waited my entire life to say. "You invested everything in Olivia. Now let her take care of you." My mom's face crumpled. "Charlie, please, no." I shook my head. "I'm done." Ethan nodded beside me. "So am I." And with that, we walked out. The fallout was instant. Olivia became a family disgrace. Our extended family turned on our parents, disgusted by how they had enabled Olivia's behavior. My parents lost everything: their social standing, their golden child's reputation, and us. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. A week later, Ethan and Noah took me out to a steakhouse to celebrate. I didn't know why until the waiter brought out a small custom-made trophy. Turned it over in my hands, laughing as I read the inscription: World's Sassiest Brother-in-Law. Noah grinned. Figured you should have a souvenir. For the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Because for the first time in my life, I had won.